So, a French online publication, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, wrote an interesting article about this new trend and used a screenshot of my Instagram poll where I compared both of these watches and asked you guys which one would you go for. Last year, Bell & Ross came out with a luminescent case for the BR-X5 LUM edition. And a few days ago, IWC launched a fully luminescent watch made out of Ceralume. This just makes me sound as if I am trying to start a war, which I'm not. The whole intention behind that post was just to kind of, oh, look, there's a new trend going on, just highlight that part. I do think both of these are cool, and that is what we're going to talk about in this video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Abdullah and I talk about watches. And if you like hearing about watches and looking at delicious footage of watches that I shoot, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so I can justify buying a better lens. Today we are looking at a new trend that is rising, which is fun. It's always fun to see brands trying to do new things. So the first question is, what is going on? What are these new materials that both IWC and Bell & Ross are using to create these luminescent cases? So material is the key word here, because both of these are totally different materials and they have different properties. IWC has created a luminescent ceramic, which they've dubbed as Ceralume, the manufacturing process of which is patent pending. In their case, they are mixing ceramic powders with Super-LumiNova pigments, and they've released a 41mm pilot chronograph concept watch with the Ceralume case. And because it is a concept watch, like I said, there is no other information available except for the information about the material. And even that is kind of vague at this point because this is still not fully publicized. We've just kind of seen a teaser with their statements being something like, this is what we're planning to do with our future watches. According to IWC, the biggest challenge was to find the perfect mixture ratio of the powders in a way that the ceramic doesn't lose its strength and the lume manages to glow for extended periods without ever deteriorating. Tritium as a luminescent material glows all the time. It doesn't need charging to glow. It's just continuously glowing. But the downside of tritium is that it eventually dies. But what's cool about Swiss Super-LumiNova, which both the Bell & Ross and the IWC use, is that it never dies. It can last forever without ever losing its brightness. For the Bell & Ross BR-X5 Lume, the challenge was to create a case substance that was as tough, as light, and as shock resistant as carbon fiber, but one that emits light. And according to them, after a lot of testing, they managed to get everything just right, where the lightness and the toughness of the material is there, along with the desired longevity of the lume. The case has a 3-part case construction where you have a grade 2 titanium core and then a LUM 3D outer case that sandwiches the titanium core, making the whole thing relatively light and robust at the same time. Now I say relatively because it does have some heft. One thing I really like about this case, especially after seeing it in the metal, is that it looks more beige than an oldish green, which was my biggest concern when I first saw the press shots. This means that it just blends with your casual outfit. Now, Ceralume is straightforward. It's easy to understand just from the name itself. It's ceramic and lume. LUM 3D is a different thing. It's a different animal altogether. This material is similar to carbon fiber, but has been modified to have luminescence properties. The glow of LUM 3D can last as long as Swiss Super-LumiNova, which again means forever. But in the case of the BR-X5, there is said to be a slight drop in intensity after the first 10 years, and then the luminescent glow will stabilize. The physical attributes, the strength, the feel of LUM 3D is similar to carbon fiber, both in toughness and weight, making it 70 times lighter than steel. And according to the brand, the lume case can even be polished to remove light scratches that might occur due to impacts, which is a good option to have, especially for a new material like this. Bell & Ross, first of all, is one of those brands like Omega, like Oris, that lends me watches to review. And one day the manager just hands me, he just takes off his personal watch. Take this, wear it for as long as you want. Tell me what you think. Tell me the good and the bad. So am I going to say no? Of course not. So I wore this watch for a whole month. And while there are a lot of positives, there are a lot of awesome things about it, just like any other watch, it also has some minor negatives, which we're going to get into. But let's first go over the specs. First of all, I am so happy that they made this watch in 41 millimeters, which makes it wearable on my 6.23 inch wrist. It still has a heft, like I mentioned, and a strong wrist presence, but in a good way, especially since it's a sports watch. The case thickness comes in at 12.8 millimeters and a lug-to-lug measures 49.6 millimeters. You get a clear sapphire crystal on top with anti-reflective treatment and a smoked sapphire crystal on the case back, displaying the manufacturer caliber. You also get a screw-down crown with 100 meters of water resistance, making this a proper do-it-all watch. The dial layout is identical to the standard BR-X5 with a 3-day power reserve indicator at the 9 o'clock position and the signature date window at 3. But what makes this dial different is the LUM application on the skeletonized hands, applied indices, and the frames at the periphery of the date window and the power reserve indicator. And even though the printed minute track and numerals on the outer flange aren't lumed, their beige tone contrasts well against the matte black dial, causing no issues with legibility. Inside beats the Swiss automatic manufacturer caliber BR-323 developed by Kanisi. The BR-323 is COSC certified, has a high beat rate of 4 Hz and an extended power reserve of 72 hours. Now, my experience with the watch was decent. I did enjoy the lume. It was just kind of that one of the fun things that when you move out of the light into a completely dark indoor space, it just lights up. That was fun. But one of the things that I hope that Bell & Ross can improve on is the strap, the rubber strap with this watch. Because the backside of the strap lacks any texture or threading, it makes the strap feel a bit too hot and slippery, especially when I wore it all day in a hot and humid climate like we have here in Malaysia. So yeah, in my opinion, a sportier, thicker strap with a bit of texturing on the underside, a bit of threading, would massively improve the wearing experience. The BR-X5 Lume Edition cost $13,000. Now the price is going to be controversial, but you can pick up the standard steel edition for around half of that. But this is a new concept, a new material, so the price does factor in all of the R&D, the testing, the failure rates, not to mention the risk that the brand has to take to invest in this new manufacturing process. I don't think this is for anyone who is looking for their first luxury watch. I think this is targeted towards an experienced collector, somebody that has all the mainstream names and they're looking for something a bit different. And I'm sure that even the IWC Ceralume watches are going to be really expensive as well. Now, what does this mean for the future? What can we expect? Some people I talk to are taking this whole thing far too literally, far too, thinking about the practicality of it all. I don't think that's the right mindset to have when looking at something like this. When brands are 99% focused on functionality, on legibility, on practicality, they need that 1% to have some fun, to be playful, to be experimental. It might not work out, it might not be for everybody, but if they don't do that, if they don't try new, even outrageous, rebellious things, we're not gonna see any innovation. I don't think the collectors or the enthusiasts want to see another plastic case material that has been renamed bioplastic or something. This trend is not just the brands experimenting with these new tough luminescent case materials, but are also softening the market, getting people used to this idea. Brands like Bell & Ross and IWC in this case may get backlash for these watches, but in the next 2-3 years, when more and more brands start to do their own versions, Bell & Ross and IWC are going to be considered as the firsts, as the leaders of this trend. I see these luminescent cases as an innovation in watchmaking, which itself is an oxymoron because innovation in traditional mechanical watchmaking is functionally pointless at this point. I mean, nothing beats the atomic clock on your phone, right? But these experimentations with materials will lead a path to new design possibilities. This can be a way for watch brands to add a bit of flair, add a bit of fun, a bit of character to tough sports watches without compromising on their toughness. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this new trend? And also, I will be doing a giveaway, the channel's first giveaway. So make sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell so you get updated when that video is out. Oh, still here. Check out this video or that, whichever, they're both fine.